up, party people? We are back with another episode of the Wordplay. I am your host. My name is Swell. I'm really excited, man. We got a true hip-hop pioneer today, man. We got Big Jeff in the scene. This guy, I've known him since I think I was like 15 or 16. And what I could say was that I was literally starstruck when I met him. Big Jeff, introduce yourself, man. Who are you?
Well, my name is Big Jeff. I've been a part of Zulu Nation, a part of hip-hop since the inception of music and, just been following the culture. And, I'm just blessed to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. I want to take it back, way, way, way back. I want to know what was the first time you got on the scene and knew this is what you wanted to do? What happened? Like, where did Big Jeff come from? Because all I know is that there was artists saying your name on records. So I grew up like, who's Big Jeff? And then I finally meet him. So what happened? How'd you get into the scene? Well,
like I said, I've been following the music since, 79 with Rapper's Delight and Curtis Blow, Christmas rapping. And basically, when you're listening to the music, you never have an idea that you're going to meet the artists and become friends with them and go out on the road with them and, talk to them on the phone and break bread. But I got down with Zulu Nation in the early 90s. And so I was going to shows back in the 80s, like
just as a fan now.
Just as a fan. So when I was listening to people like Run DMC and KRS-One and Public Enemy and Rakim, I was like enamored by the music. Like it really like changed my life hearing the lyrics to the music because they were talking about subjects that I really wasn't up on. And I was like, wow, I got to learn more about what they're saying. And so it made me like delve into history and make me like want to know like what these things they're talking about. And so it made me appreciate it even more. Like I always was a fan, just like everybody else. But then hearing people like Chuck D and people like KRS and Rakim drop science and drop knowledge in their songs, it made me really like aspire to know what they're talking about. So even at this point, I'm listening to Red Alert, Marley Marl on the radio. And every Sunday, me and my boys, we getting together. We discussing like each song, breaking it down, what we like, what we didn't like. What if we were listening more to Red, if we listened more to Marley. Also Chuck Chill Out as well. And
these are the only DJs that was really playing on the radio at that time.
Yes,
right?
For the most part. I mean, you had the world famous Supreme Team. You had the Awesome 2. You had a couple other cats that was out there. Zulu Beats with African Islam. So you had other crews out there, but for me, Red Alert mainly, but as well as Marley Marl were like really like the purveyors of the music, and in terms of like changed my life, to the point where, like I said, every Sunday, me and my boys would get together and discuss what we liked, what we didn't like, what we loved, what songs we were looking forward to hearing again. It was just a different time. This is going back to like really like 86 to 88. I mean, before that, Red Alert and Marley was on the radio in 83, but I was a young kid. I was 13. But in high school, I was 16. And like I said, 86, Rakim, KRS, Public Enemy, and a little later, Big Daddy Kane, they came out. And these artists changed my life. I mean, before that, like I said, there was Run DMC,
right.
There was Melly Mel, there was
It was
Kool
just a whole
Moe Dee,
nother level.
There was Houdini.
Flow and wordplay.
There was great artists before them, but then in 86, like I said, Rakim, KRS, and Public Enemy dropped albums late 86, and it just changed my life. So from 86 to 88, I became obsessed with hip-hop.
All right, so you was a fan, just going to all these events. What happened? How did Big Jeff become who he is today?
Well, it's interesting because, like I said before, I'm listening to these lyrics and it's like changing my life. Like, before I loved Michael Jackson and Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and Prince and Earth, Wind and Fire, Shaka Khan, people like that. But hearing these artists changed my life. Mm-hmm. And I was like, one day I said, I'm going to meet them. And just say thank you. That was it. It was nothing more than that. Like I could never in my wildest dreams, honestly, imagine that my life was going to change in the early 90s the way it did. Yeah. So I'm at this club called Two Eyes, which is right on 14th Street, right next to Nell's. And so I'm with a couple of my boys, and he introduces me to a gentleman by the name of Lucky Strike. God bless the dead. And so me and Lucky start talking, and I find out he's part of Zulu Nation. And I'm like, man, I've always wanted to be a part of Zulu Nation. Like, I so admire and so respect what the nation is about, and like how it changed lives, and how it's so much a part of hip hop culture.
Right.
So Lucky and I start hanging out, and like a couple weeks later, myself and Chase, who's the one that introduced me to Lucky, we go and open up an office on 23rd and Park Avenue, and I just go full-fledged into. But 1 minute I'm just a fan, to the next minute I'm working, at the office for Zulu Nation and helping out with.
What was you doing?
Answering phones, doing
Like
errands.
a job, like
yeah.
literally, like
with no money, but it was still, I was doing it out of love.
Hype,
and
just
everything.
hype to be around.
I was just like, and so that in turn, a few months later, I start going to events and meeting everybody. And so because I'm a social person, I would just say to each artist, like, oh, do you know about this event? You know about that event? And a lot of them didn't know. So I would be like, well, are you interested in knowing more about other stuff going on? And like 90% of them would be like, yeah, let me know. So then I would be like, yo, do you have like a beeper number, or you have like a house phone that I can call you, or your manager's
that time,
number?
There was no smartphones.
Yeah, there wasn't no cell phones. This is
no
like
way
93,
to reach people,
94.
no internet. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
So, basically, I'm just asking them for, some type of contact. Don't have to be a direct contact, even if it's an email or a manager's number. And like 90% of them just gave me their direct contacts. It was a strange time. And so then I would start calling them. And at first I was Jeff, right? And then what happened was there was an artist. I don't know if I should say his name. But,
that's it. Go.
All right. Jazzy Jeff from the Funky Four.
Yeah.
A few people had issues with him over some money. And so I would call, I'd be like, hey, what's up, such and such? This is Jeff.
Oh,
and they would be like, which
click.
Jeff? They'd be like, no, they wouldn't click. They'd be like, which Jeff? And I'd hear the hesitation or the anxiety in their voice. So I was like, oh, no, it's Big Jeff, right? And so then they would relax. And then so then I took on the moniker of Big Jeff. I sort of self-named myself Big Jeff because of the fact that I'm tall and I'm big and everything to distinguish from Jazzy Jeff from the Funky Four, not Fresh Prince.
I didn't even know that all these years. I never knew that.
So I started networking. I started going to even more events and just getting to know people. And I just started building relationships. And, it just took off from there.
There's been times when I've seen you book some of the biggest artists to perform in New York City, or probably even all around the world.
Yes.
How did that happen? Like,
again,
because you kept a good contact with these people that you can actually pick up the phone and say, yo, we need you in New York to perform at BB King's.
Yeah,
I've seen you do it with KRS-One. I've seen you do it with everybody.
With relationships, there has to eventually come a part where you have a rapport with people.
Right.
And so you could see the genuine love that I have for the music and for the artists. And, that's why you and I connect, because I see the love of hip-hop in you.
Right.
You don't have to say I love hip-hop. I sit and I watch, and I can see, like, when a certain song comes on, you start dancing and you smile and you start doing moves or you recite the lyrics.
Right.
That's the love that you have within you. And I have that same love. And there's others. It's not just, solely you and I. But there's a lot of us that have that, deep love and appreciation for the culture of hip hop. Not just, okay, it's a song that I can memorize and know, but you actually like take the time to understand what the lyrics are and to appreciate and embrace the artists and embrace the culture of hip hop.
You went from booking these shows for these big artists, then you start touring with them. What the fuck? Now you're touring with your favorite groups. How did that happen? What are some experiences that you can say about that?
Well, for those that don't know, my favorite artist is KRS-One. You mentioned it before.
Right.
You wake up one day and, you get a call from Chris, and he's like, yo, I want to bring you to California. And it's one of those moments where you look at the phone and it takes a couple seconds to register, like, is he really inviting me out to L.A.?
Or is this even KRS-One himself?
Yeah. a part of you is like, but he has like that distinct voice. So like,
right.
he's like, now Jeff, what you must understand is that he talks slow, and so you're on the phone with him for 4 hours, and you have to really pay attention because he enunciates every word.
Right.
So it's hilarious. But
Right.
shout out to Chris.
He's like
he's
a professor.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
pretty
right,
much.
Yeah.
So he invites me out to L.A., and I was just with him a couple weeks ago, and I was reminding him of it. And he was like, "How do you remember all this?" I'm like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah,
he
your
goes,
brain
"Man,
is
that
crazy."
changed my life. Like, you're with your idol. Like, you're with someone that you grew up admiring and loving. It was like, you feel like,
And now they're calling you.
yeah, and you hear the lyrics to the song, and it's like it relates and it resonates inside of you, and you're like, yo, I could see that. Truth be told, he stopped doing "Love's Gonna Get You," and it was always one of my favorite songs. And I remember me and Grandmaster D from Houdini were sitting there and we're talking, and we're like, yo, he got to do "Love's Gonna Get You." So a few times I'm like, Chris, you got to do "Love's Gonna Get You," and he just sits there and laughs at me because he knows how passionate I am and everything like that. So about fast forward like a year later, we're at SOBs again, me and Grandmaster D, and you hear the beat drop and the bass is so deep. And me and Grandmaster D look at each other and let out a scream. And KRS-One looks at me and smiles and everything like that. And so these
That's
are
crazy.
the things that, like, I could say, make my journey a unique journey, but not something that other people haven't experienced at the same time. So, in the song, he talks about being broke. He talks about trying to, figure out a way to put food on the table. And, like, those are things that I didn't necessarily grow up poor, but I knew people that really struggled and had to do things that they
felt
weren't
his
proud
lyrics. We
of.
knew what was going on.
And so, like, I didn't relate to it, but I knew other people that went through that same experience, that they
Right.
were sharing pants with their brother. They didn't have food on the table. All they had was, beans and rice. And then, like that song really resonated with me. Plus,
Right.
like, the lyrics are dope. And the beat is incredible, like, just the bass line and everything. And so I'm on the road with him, and I like having sort of like an out-of-body experience, because it's like, yo, it's just like, all right, everybody loves Michael Jackson, everybody loves Prince, everybody loves Stevie Wonder. So it's like, picture being on the road with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm on
Crazy.
the road with KRS-One. So, like, I have to, like, literally pinch myself, because I'm like, man.
Also,
like,
you got
I
to
can't
try
believe
not to
this.
make a fool of yourself,
Yes,
too. You got to
yes.
be on some...
But he's very humble.
Right,
like,
right.
he's not, he's KRS-One, so he has the ego in terms of when he's performing. But off the stage, like, he's very approachable. You could talk to him. Like, he'll sit there and sign autographs, take pictures. He's not somebody that's stuck on, like, oh, I'm a star. He knows who he is, and he knows that he affects lives by
Right.
how he, portrays himself and how he puts out the music and everything like that. So he understands what it's about and everything. And so I just had one of the greatest weekends out there in LA with him, and it was paid for. I was in a nice hotel. I went all around the Los Angeles with him. We went to the Summer Jam out there, and I was kidding him when I saw him 2 weeks ago. I was like, yo, Little John was the hottest artist at the time. And even Little John gave you props and was like, nah, I'm not going on after KRS-One. KRS-One got to close the show. That's respect. I mean, all y'all remember Little John. Little John, you couldn't go anywhere without, okay.
Yep.
Like 2003, 2004, 2005, like Little John was the man. And he's still the man, but I'm just saying, like, back then he was at the pinnacle of his career. And
chill.
he was just like, nah, KRS got to go on after me. So that was like much props and much respect to Chris, knowing who he is and knowing that you're not gonna get the crowd. Once Chris tears that stage up and gets on there and does his 20 minutes,
I've literally seen I've seen him perform and, like, watch the whole crowd jump in sync. Like, you can look and see the whole floor, feet in the air. Like, it was
exactly.
Yeah.
Last year, MTV had their 30th anniversary. And they had a who's who. There was like 30 or 40 artists.
Right.
And, they had great artists. Rakim was there. I believe Big Daddy Kane and Nice and Smooth.
Which
and
you have
they
relationships with all of them as well.
Yes, that I do. I'm blessed. My struggles are separate from the blessings
absolutely.
of hip hop.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I'm living a dream, and I'm hoping that I don't wake up and find out that it's a nightmare.
Right.
But as of now, I'm living my dream. So, the point is that KRS closed the show, and everybody was on the stage. I mean, when I say who's who, I mean anybody you could think of was there. Right. He gets on there and just destroys. And like I said, you had a who's who. You had great artists that performed there, but he's just it's like you got I don't know, you got Freddie Jackson. And then you got Michael Jackson. So he's Michael Jackson. Everybody else is Freddie Jackson or Surface and a good artist. No disrespect to them.
Of course.
But Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson. Stevie Wonder is Stevie Wonder. Like KRS is like a couple notches above everybody. And he just destroyed the stage. And the energy that came from the crowd, is just like you could hear him clearly. Like I was up high and like some of the artists I couldn't really understand. The mics weren't right. But his mics were right and you could hear him clearly. And like I said, the crowd fed off of his energy.
He's so professional.
And it was just like,
it's a whole nother
nothing
level.
you could ever see because you see 30 artists there, and then you got 29 artists that did their thing, and then you got him that just took it to the next level.
Just to describe to the audience, you've been in the game forever, 20 plus years. Just to keep it safe to say 20 plus years.
Yes.
And just recently, I seen you walk on stage with Slick Rick. Like that's how powerful your legacy is, that you can still do stuff like that. Like Slick Rick calls you and says, "Yo, we're getting on stage together." And so you perform with him.
Yeah, Slick Rick is one of those people that is an anomaly. So, and what I mean by that is that his aura is bigger than hip hop. People are so intrigued by him, by Biz Markie, by Flavor Flav, by Rakim, by Chuck D, by KRS, Run DMC. Like there's about 8 or 10 artists that transcend the culture of hip hop from that era. That when you're in their presence, you feel their aura, right? So Slick Rick with the eye patch comes on. He's got the nursery rhymes, he's got the stories and everything like that. And everyone is always like, it doesn't matter if he performed the week before. People are always excited to see him. So the last few years, I've known him since the 90s as well. The last 5 or 6 years, we've gotten even closer. And now every once in a while, he'll call me and be like, "Yo, I want you to do the ad-libs to the song." Because like he will perform and then he'll be, well, it was one of those days and then it's silence, not much to do.
Right.
I was hanging outside with my old school crew. So like he sometimes won't say the lyrics to the second part. Because the song is fast.
He doesn't travel with a hype man or anything.
No. So basically, that day up in the Bronx, they were like, they called me up. The show was at 6. They called me up at like 1, 2 o'clock. They just knew I was coming because it was the Bronx and it was, hip hop. And so they were like, "Jeff, are you coming?" But they knew I was coming. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to definitely be there. I'm like, "What time are you guys going on?" And they always tell me an hour earlier, so I'll be there on time. They're like, "Oh yeah, Rick's going on at 5," But I knew 5 is 6, right? So I'm like, "Okay, I'll be out there like 4 o'clock. I'll see you guys out there." And they're like, "No, we want you to get up on stage and rock with us." So I'm
Imagine
excited.
That, Chico.
I'm excited because
imagine that. Your favorite? Who's your favorite artist? J. Cole calls you and like, "Yo, Chico, I need you right now, like to get on stage with me." You're tripping. This is the experience that Big Jeff has been having since the fucking early 90s, bro.
Yeah, and the best part about it is that I'm performing there. Mr. Cheeks is there. Grandmaster Caz is there from the Cold Crush Brothers. Tony Tone from the Cold Crush. Funk Flex. Who else? There's a few other people that were there. And anyway, it was a bunch of old school cats from the first generation and Mr. Cheeks from the second, or third. And so it was great to actually be able to do that in front of them. The only problem was the mics weren't right. And I was trying to get them to raise the mics, but for some reason they didn't want to do it. So,
of course.
But I still had the experience, and I've been blessed to do it 4 or 5 other times. So
That's
it was
amazing, bro.
It was amazing. Yeah, I like I said, it's part of the blessing and part of the journey that I feel like God has me going in this direction for a reason.
Right.
And so I don't know where it's going to end up, but I'm hoping that I get a full-time job out of this somewhere. That's
Right.
what the goal is, you know. I was supposed to be working for the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. That fell through. But I'm hoping somewhere along the line where I can have a full-time job. I have a full-time job now, but I don't know how long that's going to last,
Right.
you know.
Well, the reason why I wanted you to come on here is because the world needs to hear these stories. The world needs to know who Big Jeff is. What impact has he done? How many shows you have booked for all these artists? Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. Getting emotional on that. Yo, but you went from doing all these shows and all that stuff, then you start throwing parties. Tell me about that.
The first party, believe it or not, you're going to bug out when you hear who my first party was with. Me and my friend Maurice, who was one of the people that I met through Zulu Nation, like in 94, we decided to do an event at Demerara's, which is on 28th Street and 7th Avenue,
Remember that?
right up the block from Shadow.
I remember that.
Right. So I believe, if I remember correctly, that they weren't charging us to book the venue. The only thing is that we had to pay, whoever we had DJing or performing. So I'm fuzzy on all the information, but I had two DJs, and one of the two DJs that I had spin is somebody that you know very well, and somebody that was a part of a crew that you were in the 90s as well, from the Arsonists. So
Spin?
I had Freestyle. Spin One was
Oh,
my
you mean?
boy,
Oh, you
too.
meant? Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about DJ. So I'm
Yeah, you know,
thinking of all
Freestyle
the DJs.
DJ'd.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he DJ'd, but I wound up having him DJ.
Freestyle is so multi-talented.
Yeah,
He's like,
and he's
he
an
does
incredible
everything.
lyricist. He's an incredible lyricist.
One of
too.
my favorites.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
so wait, so Freestyle was
Freestyle DJ for me back in '94. You know, that was my first party that I ever threw.
so.
You know,
For those who don't know, Freestyle is a member of a group called the Arsonists that I was in. They got signed in whatever year that was to Matador Records and all that. Great talented guy. He's still doing. He's hosting shows in Paris. He lives in Paris, but he hosts shows all over the world. He's still doing what you're talking about right now.
yeah.
So
I mean,
that's crazy. I
back
did not
in-
know that.
Yeah. Back in the '90s, you had really two major hip hop groups. Like, you know, you had people that were 2 or 3 MCs in a group.
Right.
But in the '90s, you had the Arsonists, which was 8 people or 9.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
13 maybe.
And then you have Wu-Tang, which was 9.
It was us
but
and
then they
Wu-Tang,
had,
yeah.
But then they had other affiliates. And, you know, like, one of the things of the Rocksteady anniversary that I used to look forward to was seeing you guys rock. And you guys either closed the show or you were, like, next to last. And
Right.
the crowd was just so hyped to see y'all.
Everybody
the
was-
Beatnuts were
yeah.
there. And I
Right.
remember seeing, like, you know, Fat Joe and Mobb Deep and, you know, so many great artists came to the Rocksteady
performed with
anniversary.
everybody, yeah.
Yeah, and people were always hyped to see you guys rock, and because you guys are all lyrical and you guys, you know, knew how to rock the crowd, and you know, people
it
were
was
like
weird.
really amped to see y'all up
It
there.
was
you know?
weird for us because we would be on the same bill with all those artists, and I was like, "Am I gonna perform with these guys? Like, you're bugging." Like, I didn't know what to think, so I was like, "Let me put on a gorilla suit right now and just go ham."
Y'all killed
'cause,
it year after year. Y'all definitely
that was dope.
held it down. So there was never a question like, those guys are okay. It was always, everybody was always amped. People knew who you were.
Right.
And people
And
were
you know
excited
what?
to see y'all.
We betting down your mom and pimps to beat us. You need to learn about life, logic, and common sense. I'm alarmed and tense. Grab a grenade to bomb your friends. Got confidence. We battled, you lost, and been embarrassed ever since. The illest brother with delivery, style, and intelligence. Now I'ma do what it takes just to wax you in all the 4 elements. Making the parties late cause I love to make an entrance. When you rhyme, you get booze. I get oohs and ahs for every sense.
Online, where we come to rock the show.
Online.
In this kid, we good to go.
Online.
We here
We
constantly.
had records out at that time. I don't think we might have.
Maybe.
We might have.
Maybe.
Because I know our first show we did it, we didn't have no record out. We just we handed in a demo, and then we performed that demo.
Wow.
And the crowd was like, "What the fuck? Who are they?"
Yep.
It's crazy.
Going back to, like I said, like
Yeah.
true hip hop history right here with the Arsonists. Like I said,
Yeah.
every group now is 2, 3 MCs or
Right.
solo artists. There's
It was
no
us and Wu-Tang.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah, it
9
was us and
MCs
Wu-Tang.
anymore. That's faded out right now.
Right.
You know? I mean, the Locks are still around, but that's 3. You know,
Right.
Mobb Deep before Prodigy passed away is 2.
Yeah,
You
there was no
know,
groups really. Hieroglyphics. We had
Hieroglyphics,
Jurassic
yes,
5.
Yes. But Jurassic 5, I think they broke up. I could be wrong.
So did Arsonist. Like,
yeah,
it was-
I mean, Souls of Mischief's still around. That's 4.
Right.
But that's West Coast. No disrespect to them; those are my brothers.
Right.
But that's West Coast. You know, I'm talking about
And the East Coast, yeah, there was-
It's just
yeah, it was-
Wu-Tang and y'all.
it was us and
you know,
Wu-Tang.
and it was like I love seeing that energy.
Yeah.
like lyrical cats and you know, like more than one MC. You know, I always like groups. You know?
But real quick, because we brought up Rocksteady Crew, break down Rocksteady Crew for the audience. There's a lot of people who don't know who Rocksteady Crew is.
Rocksteady Crew is a b-boy crew started in the late 70s.
The B-Boys.
Break dancers, for those that don't know what b-boys and b-girls are.
Right.
And Crazy Legs took the mantle, but originally it was JoJo. It was, I believe, Jimmy Lee and Jimmy D were the first original members of Rocksteady Crew. And then basically in 81, Bambaataa put Rocksteady Crew in
Africa
Zulu Nation.
Bambaataa.
Africa Bambaataa, yes.
Yeah.
One of the founders of hip hop, put Rocksteady and Crazy Legs into Zulu Nation, and their career took off. Like they went on the road with Zulu Nation. They started dancing in the downtown clubs, and you know, God bless the dead Frosty Freeze, God bless Kiriaki, Buck 4, also Doze and Mr. Freeze and
People
Mr. Wiggles.
who had
These are dancers that,
Such an impact in the hip hop community. It's crazy.
and they're in movies. They're in Wild Style. They're in
Yeah.
Beat Street.
Yeah.
Normski and Frosty and Crazy Legs and Mr. Freeze are in Beat Street. They're in Flashdance, you know. So like these are some of the early movies that showcased hip hop. Obviously, Wild Style was pure 100% hip hop, but you know, Beat Street showcased
Just to break it down
hip-hop.
for the audience,
Yeah, Beat Street.
Rocksteady Crew was there. They were in those
yes.
movies. Those people you were looking at.
Yes, and
It's
there was
them.
other great crews that were around those times. There was the Dynamic Rockers. There was the New York City Breakers. You know, then there was the Dynasty Rockers from Brooklyn, who were like more of an up-rocking crew.
Right.
And so, like, dance has always been a part of hip-hop
course.
culture. And, you know, that's what's one of the things that's missing today in 2019. Sorry to
And
fast
even
forward.
and even
You know,
Crazy
people
Legs
don't dance.
And
you know.
even Crazy Legs ended the anniversary.
Yeah, but
like,
now he
in
does
New
Porter
York,
Rocksteady.
he does Porter
Yeah,
Rocksteady.
he does Porter Rocksteady. I was very sad when I found out like he was not going to be doing it. I think 2017
Yeah.
was the last,
last one.
You know, and because
It was an anniversary that Crazy Legs did every year in New York, and it would be thousands of people.
yeah, it started in the 90s.
yeah.
and it was up in 99th Street and Amsterdam Avenue.
And Crazy Legs would get the
Right.
biggest artists to perform.
Yeah.
Like I remember one year, it was Arsonist, Big Pun, and Goody Mob.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah, people always showed Legs love, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean Rocksteady love. Well, Legs
Right,
too,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Rocksteady. And
So, all right, so boom, you start doing these parties, right?
Yes.
How did you even get into that? Could be because you started with the freestyle. Freestyle was one of the
yes,
part of that first.
freestyle was the first event. At
That's
Demerara.
crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was like, wait till you find out, because I knew you were going to ask me how did I
crazy.
start doing parties and everything like that. So I was like, I couldn't wait to share that information. I started to tell you like, yo, I got a big surprise for you when you asked me.
so
but I
dope.
Was like,
That's so
I was like,
dope.
I'm just going to surprise you.
So
But,
you did that party, and then you're like throwing, I think, 2 or 3 parties a week. Is that true? Are you doing like how many parties per week are you doing?
One a week. You know, one a week.
It feels like you're doing like
Yeah,
2
yeah,
or
I
3
was
parties
doing-
a
I was
week.
doing a lot, but,
and you've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Imagine doing a party every week for the past 20 years.
Yeah, I've been blessed.
Crazy.
You know?
That's
and,
crazy.
You know, the
And
one
people
that I've been
still
doing
come
the
out.
last 11 years is with Tony Touch.
Right.
So
That's the Toca
yeah,
Tuesdays.
yeah. So we started out at Manhattan's, which was on Bowery and Bleecker, and so I was just coming to the events on Tuesday, and it was Voodoo Ray and Danny Castro. Voodoo
Rest in
Ray,
peace.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
You know? And Tony would see me every week, and he's like, "Yo, I'm getting ready to start something at Sutra," and I have like a crazy history with Sutra. I was like, I love that place. It's so, you know, dope and so, you know, essential to hip hop in terms of like events. Going back to the 90s when it was Bar 16 with Evil D and Mr. Walt. I used to go there every Thursday. I used to live in that spot. So I was like, hell yeah, I'd love to be a part of that, you know.
Right.
And it was like, and when he told me we're going to do it, my mindset was like, all right, we'll probably do it for a year or two, and then because it's hard to do parties and make them last, like
Especially in New York.
Yeah, New York City, like the police shut it down. All it takes is one major fight, and knuckleheads are always getting into trouble.
Yeah.
Drugs, guns, fist fight. All it takes is one major fist fight to shut down a spot. You know, police are always looking to shut down hip hop. So in my mindset, I'm like, all right, you know, I'll do this with him for a year or two, you know, and have some fun with it, make some money, have a place to chill every Tuesday. You know, now in October, it'll be 11 years that we've been doing it. And outside of 1 or 2 weeks, we are the longest running consecutive. Like I said, out of 11 years, maybe like 2 weeks we've missed. And only because of snow, like it was like snowing like 3 feet of snow.
Oh, my God.
You know.
I've even seen you guys throw parties in the freaking snow.
Now, the Freedom Party's been around for about 15 years, but they've taken like 2-3 month hiatuses and stuff. So that's why, like, if people like, what is he talking about? That's the longest running thing. Like, no disrespect to Herbert and to Mark and to Cozy and everybody.
Nah, you guys been doing it.
Those are my brothers. I love them.
Every week.
You know, we've been doing this every week. Like, that's 52 times 11. That's 570 weeks. We've done like
First of all,
568 out of 570.
That math you just came up with right now is stupid to me. Like, why are you even talking about math right now? Like, I'm trying to put that together.
Yeah, I just do that to joke around. Like,
last week,
52 times 10 is 520, and then you add 50, it's 570. That's how I came up with it.
Last week, I'm talking to Chico, and I'm like, yo, like, so my plan is I want to do a podcast every week. Well, what's yours? He's like, I'm doing like 3 per week forever. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you doing?
Shout out to Chico.
I'm thinking about doing seasons. Like, you know, maybe do 2 per season. Chico's like, nah, I'm doing 3 a week forever. And I'm like, you're wildin'.
That's dope. Listen, man, he got the place. It's a great spot, you know. Right. Why not? You know?
Yeah. All right, so I want to ask you a few questions before we wrap it up. Let's see. First question I want to ask you is, what are you listening to now? Like, what's your motivation?
Well,
doesn't have to be hip hop.
Truth be told, I hear the new music, you know, because they play it in the clubs.
Don't even talk. That was my next question. So just tell me what
I'm actually personally listening to.
Yeah. What's your vibe right now? Like, what's your go-to?
I mean,
arsonist.
Of course, the arsonist. But, you know, I mean, there's not one particular thing. Like, you know, believe it or not, even though I'm a hip hop artist, my first love is R&B. So my favorite all-time performer is Michael Jackson. Okay. So he just turned 61 less than 2 weeks ago. So I've been listening to a lot of Michael Jackson, but I love Stevie. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know, like basically like what I do is like, for instance, yesterday was Big Daddy Kane's birthday. So like,
happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday. When an artist like has a birthday or there's something that relates to them, then, you know, I'll sort of like do my own tribute and listen to, you know, 3 songs or 5 songs or 10 songs, depending on the time frame that I have. So I don't listen to like any specific artist. I mean, I do like some of the new artists, like Chico mentioned J. Cole.
Well, we're gonna get that was my next question.
Lamar,
how you feeling? How you feeling?
I like Fred the Godson.
Right.
You know, I like some of the new artists, but their music doesn't move my spirit the way the old school
That's
does.
what I've been trying to say.
There's no disrespect to any of the newer artists, but I don't get excited the way I do. Like the last artist I got excited about.
We used to run home to go listen to that new album.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
The last artist I got excited, believe it or not, was Dead Prez. And that was like 2000.
Dang.
The last 19 years, I haven't heard anybody, you know, that's really like excited me. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everyone's
I think
black
J. Cole's Forest Hills.
You know,
that really had me. That really had me
artist,
like,
you know?
oh damn, I haven't felt this good in a while.
Yeah.
So it's a few.
You know, but I mean, I guess too, I'm 49 now, so it's like, you know, I don't have the same excitement that I did when I was 16 to 30. You know, now that I'm 49, you know, I still love the music, but I don't get passionate about the new stuff. I like it, but I don't love it, you know. So it's not a disrespect to any of them.
Right.
It's not that their music's not relevant or good. It's just I haven't heard anything that moves my spirit. Like, you know,
and that was the whole point. That was the whole point.
You know, somebody I did like a lot was Bruno Mars. I really like.
Oh yeah, he's great.
I like Bruno Mars a lot.
Great artist.
Bruno Mars, I got excited about.
Every time he puts out
actually, he would be the
record.
last artist that I got semi-excited about. But Dead Prez, I love that first album by them that came out in 2000. That was the last artist I got excited about. But Bruno Mars is dope. I like some of his music, you know.
All right, so is it safe to say that Luther Vandross is the best singer in the whole world. He hit every range. He hit everything from high to low,
I mean,
slow
I
to
can't
fast.
dispute Luther Vandross' greatness, or his being one of the best or the best. For me, the argument is, how many records? I would say probably 15 or 20, which is great. That's a lot of great
Right.
classic records. For me, Michael Jackson, between the Jackson 5, the Jacksons,
Yeah, hundreds.
and Michael Jackson, he's got like 100 records that you can
Right.
play that are classic that you're going to love, for me.
Right.
But like I said, Luther Vandross got about 20, which is no slight to him. That's a great amount. So for me, Michael Jackson is the greatest.
Jackson.
Then Stevie Wonder, and then like Marvin Gaye and Prince. That would be like, if I had to say who are the greatest singers of our time, the greatest songwriter, hands down, is Smokey Robinson. He's written so
Right.
many songs.
I think
for
it's Smokey
so
Robinson,
many-
and then after him, maybe Babyface.
Babyface
Because
is
Babyface
great.
just wrote for everybody.
What's his name? Wrote a lot of music too. The rock dude. What is his name? Carole King. She wrote a lot of great music for people. Burt Bacharach wrote a lot of great music. Like Burt Bacharach wrote "I Say a Little Prayer for You," which is a beautiful song that
Right.
Dionne Warwick did. And Carole King, she wrote the song "You're So Vain" that Carly Simon wrote. So giving you a little history, so this way you know, like, who the hell is that? But Smokey Robinson wrote like "My Girl" by the Temptations.
did
I mean, he
everything.
wrote for everybody in Motown, and he and Berry Gordy started Motown back in 1959. So happy 60th anniversary to Motown.
All right, last question. We're gonna wrap it up.
Wrap it up, baby. Great job there, Mr. Swellicus.
Thank you, my brother. You've been around so many artists. You've worked with so many artists. But I have to know, is there someone that you haven't met that you want to connect with and go on tour with or vibe with or do business with or something? It's got to be somebody because you already worked with everybody.
No, that's a great question, and I'll answer it in a couple of different parts. I've seen Eminem perform about 3 or 4 times over the years, but I've never officially met him.
All
And I
right.
consider him to be one of the greatest hip-hop
is,
artists.
without a doubt.
So I'd like to meet him. I'd like to go out on the road with Snoop Dogg. I've met Snoop Dogg, hung out with him a few times, but I haven't seen him like hung out with him in a few
Right.
years. So I'd like to reconnect with him. And let's see, who else?
Someone you haven't met
Someone I haven't met.
that you've been dying to work with.
Damn. You really threw me for a loop on this one. I
course.
wasn't prepared for this question. It's a great question, too. I've met just about everybody.
That's what I'm saying.
you
Yeah,
know.
that's why I brought it up.
I would say I really haven't met 50 Cent either, So I'd like to just meet them, not necessarily work with them, but I'd like to, do a party and have them host it or have them perform,
Right.
or something like that, so I could
Which is very
put that
possible.
on the what's that called? The bucket list.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
these
absolutely.
are artists I've seen them before. 50 Cent's literally passed right by me, but he had like 10 security with him, so
Right.
I didn't feel like reaching out and having them.
You
like,
sure
like,
he didn't think you was
slam-
one of the security?
Yeah, you never know.
Yo, Jeff, where could these people find you at? Like,
Good question,
How
good
can these
question.
people contact you?
So, once again, thank you, Brother Swell. I love the interview, love the questions.
Arr!
And thank you, Chico, for having us. And thank you to this brother who I forgot his name. I'm sorry. Apologize.
What's your name again? Esty.
Esty.
It's Chico and Esty running it right now.
Chico and the Man. That's what I'm called. 70s reference. Okay, oops, sorry. So, I'm going to give you a few ways to reach me. You can reach me on Instagram at Zulu Jeff157. That's Zulu Jeff 157. You can reach me on Facebook at my government name, which is Jeffrey Jeffrey Boyd. If you want to email me, you can email me at jeff.boyd1970. So that's jeff.boyd1970@gmail.com.
All right,
I'm not
y'all.
on Twitter. But I do have a MySpace page and a Black Planets page. No, I'm just kidding. Who remembers MySpace?
Of course. All right, y'all. This is it. You can contact me at Swell Lopez at Facebook, Swellicus at Instagram. Contact me. This is going to be posted on YouTube. It's going to be on, well, whatever. We'll figure it out. You know, remember, for all those artists who have their own shirts, I want to rock them. I want to show the world your work. And this is the wordplay. Peace out, y'all.
Peace. Don't forget Bar 13 on Tuesdays, Toka Tuesday. Every Tuesday with Tony Touch and all hip hop's greatest DJs. This Tuesday we're celebrating Lord Jamar and Tila Rock's birthday and Ann Marshall from Lyricist Lounge. Peace. Thank you.